What's happening, everybody? This is Gayuka Musa, also known as Coach G, and I'd like to welcome you to this week's episode of the Friday Fix. Now, today's episode is centered around the question, how do I make difficult conversations easier? Ever had a difficult conversation with someone you love? I mean, you're damn right you have, of course. Difficult conversations are extremely common in relationships. They're as common as things we love about relationships, like love and connection and commitment and all kinds of other things. Now, there's this quote from Dr. Wayne Dyer, who's one of my favorite authors, and he says, if two people always agree about everything, then one of them is unnecessary. And, this makes perfect sense, right? We have two unique individuals who have a unique set of experiences, unique backgrounds. Sometimes they might have differing beliefs and differing values. And these things will always lead to people having disagreements. I mean, this is just common. This is ordinary. Now, these disagreements will lead often to the need to have difficult conversations. And those difficult conversations affect all kinds of relationships, whether they're romantic or family or friends or whatever. And those difficult conversations are often about money, hurt feelings, betrayal, change, just all kinds of topics. But regardless of what they're about, one of the things that those difficult conversations have in common is that one or both of you is experiencing a lot of emotion. And regardless of if you're angry or hurt or feeling taken for granted or betrayed or guilty, those intense emotions will often lead us to handle those conversations in a way that damages our relationships. I know for me personally, I've experienced that in almost all of my relationships and all kinds of relationships, whether they're, the relationships with my parents or with my daughter or, when I was married, my former wife, or with my current significant other. There have been times where the emotion of the moment has really led me to handle that conversation in a way that was ultimately more damaging than it was beneficial to the relationship. So for today's fix, I want to present you with a framework for entering difficult conversations in a way where you can, really minimize the amount of damage you do to your relationship and put yourself in a place where you're best able to have that conversation be one that's beneficial for your relationship. Now, the framework that I want to present you with is not mine. It's actually by Iyanla Vanzant. And the framework consists of 4 questions that you ask yourself before you have the difficult conversation. And if you can get a yes answer to all 4 of these questions, then you're in a place to really have a great conversation with your partner. A conversation that's not going to be really damaging to your relationship. So let's get to the first question. The first question is, does it need to be said? Now, this may seem kind of obvious, but you really need to, kind of ask yourself, is this a conversation we really need to have? Sometimes, there are trivial issues that really don't warrant a serious conversation. They don't warrant being labeled as difficult or being thought of as difficult. They don't warrant some of the emotions we may be feeling, but there are plenty of situations that do. So the first thing you need to do is acknowledge to yourself that, yes, this is a difficult conversation. This is something that needs to be said. The second question is, does it need to be said by me? Now, there are all kinds of situations, and oftentimes it happens in our family relationships, but there are all kinds of situations where we may be kind of tangentially involved, but not really directly involved in what's going on. Or there may be another person who's best suited to initiate the conversation. So we need to really determine for ourselves, does this need to be said by me? Now, the third question is, does it need to be said right now? And there are so many situations, and I'm sure you can think of and remember, times in your own relationships where, there was a serious conversation that needed to happen, but the timing was just all wrong. And the timing ended up making the conversation so much less effective than it otherwise could have been. I mean, maybe you're around a bunch of people at the time, or maybe you're out in public at some event, but something about the timing is, really going to affect the quality of that conversation. So make sure you can get a yes to that question. Does it need to be said right now? The last question is, can I say it in a way that I could hear it? So if you think about this, there oftentimes, a difficult conversation or a difficult message may come your way, but depending on how that message is delivered, you can either focus entirely on the delivery, or you can focus more so on what's actually being said. So we have to find a way to say what we want to say, to embark on that conversation in a way that doesn't put our partner on the defensive, doesn't put them on the attack, doesn't marginalize them in some way that really eliminates the possibility for that conversation being effective. Now, when you can get a yes to all four of these questions, and let me review them. Does it need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? Does it need to be said right now? And can I say it in a way that I could hear it? When you can get a yes to all four of those questions, then you really reduce the chances that the difficult conversation that you have to have in this moment is going to be damaging for your relationship, or is going to have negative side effects that have nothing to do with the conversation, but may have to do with the level of emotion you're bringing to that moment. So what I want you to do this weekend is I want you to put that framework into practice. I want you to use those four questions to make sure that you're ready to have difficult conversations when they arise. And the great thing I love about this framework is that it really works for you at your speed. There are times when it may take you a week or two just to get to the place where you can get a yes for all four of those questions. There are other times where you might be able to get to that those four yeses in a few moments. Sometimes it depends on the person, sometimes it depends on the scenario. But the great thing is that this flexible framework can work for you and get you to a place where you're ready to have the best possible outcome for your difficult conversation. So what I'd love for you to do is please leave your comments below and let me know what kind of strategies you've used to have difficult conversations in your relationships. That's it for this week's Fix. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, this is Coach G reminding you to free your mind so your life will follow. Take care of each other, all right?